Who the heck is Pep Talks?
I'm not gay, but I fantasize about Marco Rubio. Pep Talks. Pep Talks. Pep Talks. Let's eradicate the Kung flu. I'm literally coming. Pep Talks. Pep Talks.
Who the heck is Pep Talk?
They want our women. They want our children.
Pep Talks.
Sometimes no means yes. Grab them by the
Pep Talk.
Grab them by the Marco Rubio. Obama is a racist.
Pep Talks.
I'm literally coming. I'm
Pep
literally coming.
Pep Talks.
We found weapons of mass
Pep Talks.
destruction. My fellow Americans, it has been confirmed today from Pep Talks that we are indeed all high on politics.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a new week of This Space and a new edition of PEPAGANDA. Hope you guys are doing well. We are, we're bringing in a new week with some good news and some also some bad news. The Supreme Court rulings have come out, and if you guys have not already seen the news, then do not go elsewhere. Stick around because we will be taking care of that in a little bit. Real quick, just have one ask of you. If you guys could do me the solid and can you just hit that like button? Just do it. Just do it, guys. Just hit the like button. It really is a simple ask. And if you guys do so, it helps get us out there. So, and you know what? I appreciate it. I really do. So if you guys want my appreciation, then hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not done that already. What is going on? It is like this is the early days of This Space. We are coming up to our 1-year anniversary. I'm excited for that. And yeah, you guys, I just got to say this little project that we have going on. I know that I've talked about it a lot here, but I just want to reiterate how awesome it is and how I appreciate you all for supporting it. It's awesome. So legends say when you like a stream, a young Indiana Jones finds his gold. Hey, well, you know what? You don't want to screw up the timeline now. So let's get that young Indiana Jones, aka wasn't that River Phoenix? I think that was River Phoenix, right? Yeah, it was. Holy shit. If you guys haven't seen the Young Indiana Jones series, it is unironically so good. Like it is just you should do yourselves a favor if you are fans of Indiana Jones as a franchise and check that out. That was one of the most successful like ways of doing that. And it is also very cool because this was back in the 90s where Harrison Ford wasn't, so up his own ass that he didn't, want to do cameos or work with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, which there was a time where I guess it was weird. So yeah, he actually narrated the whole thing, and he would show up for like the old, and then there was old Indy, by the way. Like I don't know, it's good. I've not heard that name in years. It's legit better than the movies. It is. It's just yeah. Chad, I'm so glad that you know. It's funny. One of my friends that I grew up with, his dad had the entire series on VHS box set. So yeah, that was one of the first series I ever got to like shotgun, and that was cool. Yeah, like I'm not gonna stunt lock on it anymore, but I do appreciate you guys listening to some indie. um, all right, so like I was saying, that we do have some breaking news from the Supreme Court. You know what? I'm gonna do this. Dun, 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 dun. This space breaking news. Breaking the news. All right. You guys can like clip that, use it for whatever you want. If we want to like do like a Chiron, and then you can use this bit, then we'll cut this. Yeah, we're doing this in real time. And then it's dun 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 dun. All right. Well, we have some breaking news here on This Space. Apparently, the Supreme Court has upheld the 14th Amendment. I know that we were all worried about it. So this is good news. This is good news. But the Supreme Court also dealt us some bad news as far as Citizens United. It seems like Citizens United may have, like, just when we thought everything was off the rails with campaign finance, it is going to be way worse in the future here. So this has been This Space Breaking News. This Space Breaking News. Dun, dun, dun. All right, cool. And we're out. We're good. We got it. All right, we did the news break. Now, just so you guys know, I do legitimately have some clips here of live reacts from the mainstream media and just in general what this means for America. We'll get to that here in a second, but we're hanging for the first few minutes here. This is like a micro version of my show. So if, by the way, you guys don't already follow at Pep Talks TV on YouTube and Twitch, please do me the solid and go subscribe. Follow over on Twitch. We're trying to get to 3,000 over on YouTube, and I just I want to try and get to 620 over on Twitch right now. Trying to reach those goals, and hey, with your help, we can make it possible. We can make it possible. We can. Well, yeah, I guess we could. I'm rambling anyway. So, I do want to do my customary, welcome everybody into the show. So, welcome everybody. I appreciate you guys being here. You all are the VIPs, the OGs, just. I don't have anything else, so we'll go with that. Also, hi, Stan. Yeah, you got the Stan back here. No dog. We don't have the dog cam here. I need to give the permissions for that. Wait, can I do that? Let's see. Can I do add an extra camera? Oh, that's right. I can't do it because it's the weird the weird thing. Yeah, because it shows my whole camera. For some reason, I can clip it on Streamlabs. So anyway, all right. Let's load this up. Doggy, yes, doggy. Sorry. I just derailed my own show because I got a little too excited there, and I backed out of my tab. What do you think of the name Pep Folk for Pep fans? Man, we have litigated this a few times. So we had the Pep Squad, which, I mean, I honestly go for whatever you guys want to call yourselves. You know what? You're my fans, so I feel like I shouldn't have a say in this. Peptides, I like peptides. I do like peptides. You know. Oh, wait a minute. Does that mean if we go on keto diets, then you guys are keto peptides? Oh, science joke. Let's go. We're so smart here. That's what we do here on Pep Talks. We do like not just dad jokes. We do we do legit bad jokes. Yeah. The hot ones. Oh, hey, yeah, it could be the hot ones. Hey, that does actually work, Okay. All right. So when I was like first building my channel, I did have like this I did like a Twitch setup, right? Where it had a spicy meter and it was for my donations where it was the Scoville meter. So yeah, I think I kind of want to bring that up, but I have this thing about also trying to keep my stream as bare bones as possible because personally, that's what I like when I watch a stream. I don't like this is perfect, honestly, what we have here. Like it's not in your face. I feel like some people it's just too much. You know what I mean? And this is coming from me. Like, look at all this. I've had people tell me that like this is an assault on people's eyes. It's like, dude, you have so much going on back there. How do you even like maintain your thought process? It's like, honestly, this is what helps me maintain. It's kind of like when my dad, he had like a messy desk, and I remember like I wanted to help him clean it, and he's like, "Do not touch any of that." He's like, "That is organized chaos. I know where everything is in that pile." I was just like, "Oh, okay." And I watched my stepmom do that one time where she cleaned it. Oh boy. That's the closest thing I've seen to like a legit fight from those two where it was just like, "Ooh, he was mad." Okay. So we got the first one of the day, guys. It's happening. Like, geez, this was quick. Yo. He's been busted. He was trying to get in his streets. So kitty arm jail. He goes into kitty arm jail for a minute. Yeah. First one. Trying to get into your treats. And what the hell? Like, yeah. What's going on? You've been so good this morning. Everybody say hello to Lito. Otherwise known as Catzilla. Yes, he is definitely a distraction. Like right now, he will likely go after my my cord on my headphones here, which I found yeah, hey, look, he's doing it right now. Ah, oh, you can't see him. Damn. Okay, how about not doing that? And I swear to God, if you go over to that box, you're going up. All right. Yeah, we only got one strike today. Oh, okay, wait. Actually, he's already done one. Now he's doing two. This sucks. I can't get mad at him. You saw him. He's just he's like aggressively cute. And then on top of it, he's not a bad cat. He's misunderstood. Yeah, you know what they say about you not being able to train a cat? 1000% get that. So by the way, did you guys see that Dave Portnoy floats 2029 NYC mayoral race against Mamdani? Dude, I love it. I love the crashing out that everybody's doing about New York because they're seeing that this is successful. They're seeing that's popular. They're seeing that a lot of people are enjoying the vibes. We'll actually be talking about that in a little bit, but all righty. With that being said, let's get to some news. I know that I did a little bit on it, but it's not actually a bit. We do have some good news out of the Supreme Court. Surprise, surprise.
Lisa, my understanding is you're ready to break down the birthright citizenship ruling for us.
Yeah, and it's narrower. And
see what I did there? I hit that like button. And that wasn't as clean as I was hoping.
Antonia, than we thought it was going to be, certainly by listening to oral argument. There are 5 justices who have voted to say that the 14th Amendment's citizenship clause protects birthright citizenship.
I don't know what it is about this lady, but I could just see her like being, if you've ever seen the movie The Mist, like she would totally be in that grocery store. And like she like that perfect look of just always
have long understood it. A 6th justice, Justice Kavanaugh, joins the opinion in part, but not in whole. And let me read to you his stunning first paragraph. He says that the executive order that's at issue here establishes new exceptions to birthright citizenship for children born to foreign citizens unlawfully or temporarily in the country. That the court today holds that the order violates the 14th Amendment. I respectfully disagree with the court's constitutional holding. In my view, the executive order doesn't violate the 14th Amendment, but it does contravene a federal statute. And then Justice Kavanaugh goes out of his way to say, consistent with the 14th Amendment, Congress could amend that statute or otherwise enact new legislation establishing exceptions to birthright citizenship for children born to foreign citizens.
So this is putting it in Congress's hands, which again, now you got fucking Trump just saying like, they can do the SAVE Act with like and forego the filibuster, which how
lawfully or temporarily in the country, but Congress has not yet done so. In other words, 5 justices saying the Constitution is the Constitution is the Constitution.
Hey, I swear to God.
And Justice Kavanaugh saying, I
up.
agree with them in terms of the state of federal law, but if Congress wants to change this, That's up to Congress. And so let me make a larger point about Justice Kavanaugh today. We often talk about the Roberts Court. After today, this term at least will be a big, thumb on the scale, fist on the table for Brett Kavanaugh, who has issued multiple majority opinions today and also is really the big deciding vote here, right? By concurring in the judgment, but also leaving for another day whether Congress can make a different decision. You can see how in a court composed a little bit differently, because it is only a 5-4 decision on the constitutional ground, how this could have gone very differently, despite the fact that after oral argument, many of us thought this might be a 7-2 decision. And instead, what you've got is only 5 justices saying constitutionally, birthright citizenship is the law of the land, a 6th saying it's the law of the land, but only because of federal statute. And then you've got 3 other justices saying no. They would side with the president here and say that the executive order is perfectly consistent with the Constitution of the United States because, I believe, of this phrase in the middle of the citizenship clause saying subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That was the argument that the Solicitor General made at oral argument, saying that it doesn't cover people who are not permanently domiciled in this country, making an argument that Wong Kim Ark, this 120-plus year precedent, did not settle for all time whether somebody born in this country was in fact a citizen, but was intended to be always a narrower ruling based on the fact that Wong Kim Ark's parents had settled in California, that they always intended to remain there. They had no allegiance to their home country. And John Sauer sort of using that to drive a wedge into that citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment that previously courts did not understand to exist.
Fallon Gallagher, if you're still there outside of the Supreme Court, I'm wondering if you can give us some color here, because as Lisa just described, I mean, for months now, people have been both pretty publicly and behind the scenes expecting something closer to a 7-2 decision here. How shocked are people where you are?
What is this? What is this? What the fuck is this? Oh my God, it didn't go the way you thought. And honestly, it is like
yeah, they're not shocked, but not as much reaction as I would have imagined here.
Because you're the only ones that are kind of even putting on this face,
especially
with it.
One that we knew was coming today. I actually,
this is a big shocker. I thought it was going to be 7-2. I thought it was going to be 7-2. Poly market odds. Oh shit!
Say that I heard louder cheers when we actually got the transgender athlete ban. But again, like you said, this is narrower, a narrower split than we had anticipated. After arguments, it seemed like there was no question that the Supreme Court was going to hold up birthright citizenship. It was just a matter of how broadly, whether that was going to be 7-2 or 8-1. So a 6-3, really more of what seems to be a 5.5, 3.5. If you look at the Kavanaugh split, is a much closer ruling than we would have imagined. But again, this is still a big loss for the president, overturning one of his signature executive orders that he signed on his first day in office, upholding birthright citizenship. And as you know, this has been enshrined in our country for a very long time. We had the 14th Amendment, of course, after the Civil War, but then the Supreme Court itself upheld this precedent in 1898 with that case, Wong Kim Ark, where it said that if you are born on U.S. soil, you have birthright citizenship. And so that remains to be the case here. As far as the reaction here, Antonia, I would not be surprised if this starts to build throughout the day as word spreads. Decisions are a little bit less buzzy than they used to be in the pre-COVID times because you don't have to actually run them out in the same way. So this is one where I think the crowd will gradually build here, because this is, at the end of the day, still a win for birthright citizenship.
Catherine, given what we've seen Kavanaugh do today, what does that
mean? Jesus Christ. I've been kind of talking about this, like how the news is just, they are exclusively just in this like negativity zone, you know, like I can't articulate this that well. I'll just
signal to you.
I just feel like it's constant with them. They have to try and spin it in a negative light, or like a way to make you either afraid or just like kind of second guess what you just heard.
About what may be to come here.
Well, I think it's important to say who the 5 justices are who said the 4th Amendment means what it says. Roberts, Barrett, Sotomayor, Jackson, and Kagan. And we can expect, which was happened in the Terrace case, the president might have some words to say about Justice Barrett and Justice Roberts. But as Lisa pointed out, Kavanaugh could have went the other way, and instead of it being, 6 votes, but it
Excuse me.
thankfully the decision came out right, but it's shocking. I was one of those that was, I
The
said to
way he
Lisa,
just looked at me
it
like, huh?
should be 9-0, but it'll probably be 7-2. Well,
Shit.
shocking. So we have Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas, who basically have said, you can have an executive order that changes the Constitution. It's 194 pages. I'm not as fast a reader as
I don't
Lisa
understand
is,
why he
but it'll
does
be
this.
interesting to see their rationale.
Yeah, I would love to come back to one of the two of you in a
Yeah.
minute to get an understanding from those three of what their explanation is here.
I will tell you what it's not.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, one of the things that's surprising to me here is that at oral argument, and I was listening to it again this morning, Justice Alito essentially recognized a really pragmatic concern. And he basically told the Solicitor General that if there were people who were subject to removal at any time, if they were apprehended and they have in their minds made a permanent home here in the United States, they've established roots. He said that raises a humanitarian problem. And I wonder, Mr. Sauer, if you can address that. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, that's a remarkably pragmatic and also compassionate thing for Justice Alito to say about sort of what we'll call the reliance interests at issue here, right? If you have parents who have come here and they are undocumented and they have made a life here and you know no country other than this. Now, granted, the executive order only covers babies who are born after a particular point in time, but his larger point is, how do you square the fact that there's going to be some real life impact on the ground here
First one
if
of
we
the
uphold
day.
this executive order? That doesn't appear to be a concern for him today as a dissenter.
Again, I think it is that question of intention versus impact as you're sort of looking at the court and its rationale. For me,
Hates
as a civil
comics.
rights attorney, Antonia, I'm really looking at the origin of where these particular amendments come from. These are Reconstruction amendments that were essentially drafted after slavery to provide citizenship to freed Black persons in America whose generations before them had been enslaved. And I think that the court's defense of this is critically important because while we are having this conversation in the context of birther tourism and immigration and things of that nature, had the Supreme Court not decided the way that they did, what is to stop the executive branch from issuing another order that's even more restrictive in terms of how we define who an American is or is not, and a citizen is or is not? And again, when you're thinking about the spirit of the law, when you think about the origin of these amendments themselves, without that power being limited or restricted, without the Constitution and its amendment being defended as written, the president can legislate in a way that I do not believe he was ever intended to. And what we see from the court in its decision is that they're stopping him from doing that, at least in this instance. I do agree strongly with Catherine, as well as Lisa. Should have been more people defending it, in my opinion. The fact that it survived so narrowly should be a concern because to the point that Lisa was making about Kavanaugh's opinion in this matter, he's basically laid out a path for Congress to say, all right, it didn't get done today, but if you want to do it, this is the way to go. So I also think to the question.
Yeah, but realistically, this is a constitutional amendment coming from Congress. Like, okay, let's be real here.
She would ask
Unless they actually rig the election and they just have this mass majority in the House and the Senate that just makes it so the filibuster doesn't matter, which wouldn't put it past them. I mean, this is the Trump administration, like we're talking about. This is the most corrupt administration ever to exist in American politics. So I would not put this past them at all.
Previously, this is not over either. This is just likely going to be a battle that takes a different form. And for those people who are looking at this and wondering why does it matter? It matters because this is what defines what it is to be an American.
And it was really interesting. You're talking about the history of slavery here and the significance of that to our nation's founding and to the establishment of all of this. The president, who normally actually tries to downplay the role of slavery, did try to use it to his advantage in this case by basically almost acting as though he was like a defender of something that was specially done for Black people and therefore has now been sort of misconstrued and accidentally done as a favor to everyone else. We'll leave that to the side here. I'm going to
Yeah. This is why I can't stand the Trumpers that like will always use his arguments where it's just like you don't understand just how dumb he thinks you guys are because he's able to do that shit right there where it's just like, what do you mean? Hold on. That's not what I was saying. Technically, I meant this. And then everybody in MAGA is just like, I just spent well, no, this would require them to have like a reflection, or like the ability to reflect. Oh, wait a minute. I just spent so much time saying the opposite of this, and now I have to like pivot like that. Well, he does. It is the bob and the weave, so I'm just doing what Trump does. God. All right. Let's add this next. MAGA meltdown. Did I get that? Yep, got it. All right, cool. And then this is the bad news. Despite the fact that they made that one seem like it was bad news, which, yeah, MS Now, what the hell are you doing over here? All right, Supreme Court overturns campaign finance limits. Yeah, great. So, yay, AIPAC is just going to be able to fucking dude. I don't understand how this was able to stand. I mean, we need to be talking about repealing Citizens United, not fucking bolstering it.
Our colleague Fallon Gallagher is outside of the Supreme Court. I'm going to bring you back in, Fallon. Tell us, as you're reading through and processing this, we just got the new campaign finance decision. What do you know?
Yeah, this is going to have major implications for this year's midterms. In a 6-3 Kavanaugh ruling, the court is overturning campaign finance coordination limits. Now, of course, these limits had been in place to limit how the political parties could work directly with candidates. And the NRSC and actually J.D. Vance, when they brought this suit back in 2022, had argued that those limits violated the First Amendment. It violated their opportunity to actually work together to create campaign ads. And now the Supreme Court is agreeing with them, finding that this does in fact violate the First Amendment, that right of free speech, and that these limits must be overturned. So what this means now is that this is going to allow much greater coordination between the actual political party groups, think the RNC, DNC, NRSCC, all of those major political party groups with their actual candidates. So this is going to limit the power of super PACs and actually transfer that power back to the political party groups. Now, this is going to, in a political way, this is going to have massive implications for the fall because the Republicans are so well known for their massive fundraising power, significantly more so than the Democrats. So transferring this power is going to give them a major boost for this year's midterm elections. Again, this is a 6-3 ruling along political party lines, and it's not entirely surprising. It was pretty clear that they had at least enough of the conservatives. Notably, Justice Gorsuch didn't really talk during these arguments, but the fact that this is another Kavanaugh opinion and it's another 6-3 along party lines. Antonia?
Lisa, give me your analysis here.
Well, one of the things I think is really striking here is that the government itself wasn't defending the constitutionality of the coordination limits. So let me just take a step back and remind people what's at stake here. This isn't about an absolute dollar amount. This is about when you make a contribution to a political party, is the party itself allowed to coordinate with a candidate and spending money on behalf of that candidate in advance of an election? And today the court says yes. So,
all right. I mean, let's be real. They were doing this already.
The rise of
this isn't that big of a deal. Like
the super PACs,
they found guys, because realistically, they were finding loopholes to this shit. Like, come on.
Independent groups that are supposed to be walled off from candidates while they are
just
spending
took away
on their behalf. We can expect to see super PACs diminish in their
okay. So this isn't the biggest L. I was a little worried about this.
Importance, and to see the two-party system again rise and become even more important in the wake of this decision. Super PACs have had so much of their power in part because of the Supreme Court's putting limits on coordination between political parties and individual candidates. With that wall now gone, expect to see much more in the way of direct coordination between the parties and their sort of individual House and Senate apparatuses and individual candidates in advance of November. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say that from a fundraising perspective, the RNC and its subgroups have long had a fundraising advantage, not only in anticipation of midterm elections, but also in advance of presidential elections. I think what this does, though, is make there's a whole ecosystem in Washington right now around these independent groups that will recede in importance. If you are a person out there who thinks the Republican and the Democratic Party do not speak for me, they continue to choose candidates that
So this was their way to stifle fucking DSA.
that aren't in the mainstream or just are sort of too separated for where I see myself in the middle.
Honestly, that's kind of like, think of that. Like, we could argue now that this is technically like, all right, well, I mean, how is MAGA
a
like
decision that is going to upset you even further. And I want to harken back to something our colleague Chris Jansen says. She says when she goes
damn it, dude. Every time. Every time.
out and she talks to voters, one of the things they
Fucking
say most
fuck the man.
inhibits them from engaging with the political process is
Simple
the Citizens
messaging.
United decision that held that corporations basically have a First Amendment right to spend on our elections. This decision today, the NRSC decision, this is one that 10 years from now, people will talk about in the same way that they talk about Citizens United. And of course,
Yeah, because anybody loves Citizens United.
The one final thing I want to say is Charles was
Fucking corporate media bullshit, dude.
talking about earlier that this is a court that
Let's
sort of
leave that
likes
ambiguous.
history unless the facts change in a way that's inconvenient for them. And indeed, what you're seeing here in the majority opinion is them saying, in light of not only
I love their face watching her.
doctrinal
Look at this corny white bitch.
changes, that means changes in the law, but factual changes since 2001 when they last ruled on this question of coordination, that the government itself sort of agreed with the plaintiffs, including J.D. Vance, as Fallon noted, that the last decision that was precedent here no longer retains vitality. Interesting how changed factual circumstances are important to this court when it's important and not important when it's not important. And of course, I'm thinking about the birthright citizenship argument in advance of getting that decision, because at that argument, one of the things that John Sauer, the Solicitor General, said was like, we could not have envisioned a world where 8 billion people were a flight away from citizenship in this country. And the Chief Justice responded to him in a line that got a lot of laughs at the time. It's a new world, but it's an old constitution.
Yes.
Let's see to what extent the Chief Justice and his colleagues are willing to defend that old constitution, despite changing facts when we get to birthright citizenship.
I want to bring in.
Well, we know how that one went. Jesus Christ, dude. Again, just the way that she framed that, where it's just like, we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. We're expecting them to get rid of it because, you know, this is what we do. We fearmonger on the news. The caucasity of this woman. I mean, dude, she is aggressively Caucasian. This is, hey, you know what? I get to say that. Alrighty. All right, let's get the final bit on this one. Man, Maggie Haberman and this other jackass, like from Axios, that like wrote this book. I don't know, man. Can I just say, like, now all of a sudden Maggie Haberman is like the it journalist where, oh look, she wrote a thing about the, you know, the some Epstein stuff and Trump, but you know she didn't actually really break any news or, you know, anything like that. Caucasity. Thank you, Ben Dixon. I mean, that's a banger. That is definitely a banger. All right. Like I said. Here we go. Like I was saying about Maggie Haberman and this doofus. I don't know, man. Axios is one of those ones that really pisses me off because I remember, like, when they first dropped, it's like, oh, hey, finally, like a more left of center, news organization that's kind of trying to break into the mainstream. If I only knew.
So what do you make of the president's decision praising the Supreme Court decision to expand his powers to fire officials within the executive branch of the government, calling it a big win?
Well, it's one of the few pieces of good news for him, frankly, out of what we've seen in the rulings so far from the Supreme Court day. This has been a case that has been long in the making by a number of the president's top advisors, a small group of advisors who were preparing for a second Trump term. We write about this actually extensively in the book, how they had looked at, and Jonathan did extensive reporting on this at Axios, even before he was at the Times, how they had looked at pockets of independence inside the executive branch, how they believe there is no such thing under the unitary executive theory, that the president controls these so-called independent agencies and has the power to make changes there. So this was an expected ruling, but it is an affirmation of how Trump has governed and sought to expand executive power.
It's interesting because the Supreme Court also said this morning that it wouldn't hear President Trump's challenge of that $5 million jury award to E. Jean Carroll for sexual abuse and defamation. Are we likely to hear the last of this case from the president? What do you think?
I'm reluctant to speculate, but based on our reporting, I think it's unlikely.
Okay, so Mike Johnson, I think he was expecting a different ruling because I just saw his reaction. The way he just goes...
that you've heard the last about it. There are a few things that he was more enraged about than the E. Jean Carroll case. So I don't think you've heard the last of that at all.
What do you think?
No, I mean, based on our reporting, and we write extensively in the book about all of these court cases during the campaign, he was extremely unhappy about the E. Jean Carroll decision and being there for the second trial during the primaries. I assume he will say something at some point.
And Maggie, Trump, you've covered him and you understand. You think he's actually going to write out a check for $5 million
really
E. Jean Carroll?
I'm reluctant to speculate as to whether he will actually do it, but I think that if he does it, it will be under extreme protest.
Yeah,
he may not have a choice. I want to dig a little bit.
He doesn't want to break the law.
Right. If he doesn't want to break the law, and your book is named Regime Change Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump, I emphasize the title because I think it really encapsulates this interaction you had with President Trump, where you go, you meet with him, and he pulls out this document that he says was written by a historian. You later find out it's written by a golf caddy, where it lists names of historic dictators, in some cases very brutal dictators, and makes an argument that Trump is more powerful. And so I'm wondering, what is your understanding of how Trump views his power and his level of satisfaction or lack thereof with the power he currently has?
Are you kidding me?
It was a remarkable moment.
This is the thing about Trump. He would legitimately think he was a
having
god.
Him hand us or
if
having
you told him
hand us
so.
this document that you were describing. And
he's not that. This is the thing that pisses me off about the way that they try to analyze Trump is they always try to do it with like this fucking like what's the way that this academic like way of breaking him down where they don't need to. You just need to just be like, oh, he literally tells you exactly what's on his fucking mind. He's too dumb to do otherwise. Trust me, I know a little bit about that myself. But for real, like he's just a fucking moron and an egotist. Like
he did it.
It's not that complex.
Because we had,
and then you've got this. Like I think that's what pisses me off about her is the fact that she's out here with this schmuck who he pisses me off more than her. I'll be completely real, but just in general, like these two assholes fucking, sitting here hawking their fucking book about, oh, look how he's an imperial, he's technically a dictator, but we spent a lot of time with him. We did a little bumping elbows, we've interviewed him a lot of time, like a lot, we definitely have good insight to him. Classic dictator shit. Fuck yeah, dude.
About how he views his power and how he views his power in the context of past.
If there's one thing that the Trump regime actually did like well is make this shit useless.
American presidents.
Like, okay, cool.
It's something he had been.
It's kind of funny. Nobody cares. And sure, your book will probably, hit the bestseller list because that's easy to do. It's easy as fuck to manipulate it. Like everybody can do it now.
Talking about privately, we wanted to see if he would talk.
But nobody's going to remember it.
About it with us. And he was not making a moral judgment about these people who he was listing off. And he referred to them as the top 10. And it was Stalin, Mao, the Caesars, Attila the Hun, Alexander the Great.
He's collecting
Hitler,
fucking Pokemon cards.
Napoleon. I mean, I'm missing a few, I think, but he was not in any way reflecting on what they had done to bring them to power and what they had done as leaders. It was the notion that they were memorable, they had power, but that he had more. And what he wanted us to understand was that he is willing to use his power.
The whole point of the title of this book, Regime Change, people, when they think of regime change, they think of foreign regime. We're always used to talk about regime change in Iraq, regime change in Iran. We came up with this title long before Trump went into Caracas and snatched Maduro out of his bedroom or started a war in Iran. It occurred to us pretty early last year that we were covering a form of regime change in America, that Trump was using presidential power like no president in our lifetimes, and in some respects like no president ever, in some of the respects.
Yeah, good job raising the alarm on it at all, though. Yeah, not contributing at all.
That we cover.
Fucking assholes.
In the book.
Do you think he sees any ceiling on his power, or is it just an insatiable appetite?
He has said publicly that he sees, at least so far, no limits. Now, it's been in specific context.
The Iran war,
for example,
the
Iran war.
Yeah.
What he said to our colleagues earlier this year was about the limits of his own power internationally. I think this is what he was saying. I'm paraphrasing, but it was that, his own morality, his own sense of what's acceptable and not. What our reporting shows in the book, and I think you are seeing this again with some of these rulings today, he is going to test the limits of his power in many different ways. And
yeah, because we needed
the court system in the U.S. really was not built for someone like Donald Trump. It's not equipped to keep up with him. And what we have seen is the only authority that this administration really acknowledges is the Supreme Court, because they will take various cases through lower court challenges and then see whether they can expand power for good at the Supreme Court.
Your new book, Jonathan, includes really amazing insight into President Trump's decision to launch these strikes on Iran alongside Israel. You also note the confusion and even the pushback among some of his key cabinet members. In public, they all seem to show unfailing loyalty and support. But tell us more about what actually was going on behind the scenes.
It was a pretty astonishing sequence of events, starting with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, coming down to the White House Situation Room, pitching Trump on this war, showing a video montage of possible new leaders to take over Iran. Overnight, the CIA did an analysis of that presentation, and they concluded that the regime change scenarios from Netanyahu were divorced from reality. So Trump meets in the Situation Room with his team. John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, tells him it's farcical. Rubio uses coarser language. Trump goes ahead with it anyway from his gut instincts.
Really?
What I think people don't realize about this war is there's basically no one on Trump's senior team who thought it was
So he started a war because he had bubble guts?
The president was very tough, too, on it.
Well, he was the only one who really vocalized it. Basically,
That's
no
fun.
one on Trump's team thought it was a good idea. The closest to think it was a good idea was Hegseth. There was various levels of skepticism.
Dude, I hate the way that they can't do this with any humor. They can't do like any of it just like Hegseth. Yeah, like we were all expecting there.
Almost everyone. But unlike the first term, they didn't really express it to Trump. There weren't these big pieces.
J.D. Vance did it.
He was the exception, and it actually cost him. It irritated Trump. You did have people lay out risks.
That was
the chairman of the Joint Chiefs absolutely did, but there wasn't the sort of direct
his way out, I guess.
Arguments.
I wanted to ask about Epstein just to follow up with you. Do you see any correlation with the fact that it irritated Trump that J.D. Vance was pushing back, and now Trump has sort of made him the face in many ways?
The big
I don't see that really. I think J.D. Vance, from our reporting, seems by all accounts to be quite happy to be the one to try to steer this toward a peace deal and to be associated with the peace of this. I mean, you barely heard from him during the war itself, and he's everywhere now. I think he's quite comfortable talking about the peace deal element of this.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that could help him potentially if he decides to run for president.
I also think it's what he believes. I mean, really, again, there wasn't really a political advantage to him doing what he did with Trump. He needs Trump support to be the nominee.
We were interviewing Chairman Comer coming up, of course, the head of a House oversight, and I wanted to bring up Epstein. We're going to ask him about Epstein. And you really bring us inside the White House, inside the Situation Room, as White House officials deliberated how to handle Epstein, which is really unusual to be in the Situation Room talking about something like this, right?
Yeah, the White House Situation Room complex, as you know well, it is typically used for national security discussions, emergencies, discussing foreign policy, sometimes natural disasters. This was the first time that we knew of where it had been used for essentially a crisis PR center on how to get out of a clamor within the MAGA base over unreleased files related to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
This is kind of what drives me nuts again about MAGA. I say this a lot, but the fact that they can't piece that together and go, oh yeah, that's a little sus, huh? But the second that if that was Joe Biden, they'd just be like, he was hiding everything. It's clear as day.
There were a number of meetings in that room. We just focused on a few of them. And there were people in Trump's orbit who were concerned about the victims. But that was not the primary discussion at these meetings. This was about how do you deal with something that the president just wanted to go away. And we report on this in the book. He wanted it to disappear. He was snapping at aides when they would bring up Epstein. So what ended up happening were these series of remarkable meetings with the top levels of this government, the vice president, White House chief of staff, White House counsel, attorney general, deputy attorney general, FBI director, and that's just a partial list.
The style of media needs to go. I mean, it is kind of going away.
They saw as their options. And some of these meetings were described to us.
I mean, once Barry Weiss gets in, CNN is going to be unwatchable. So you guys won't have to worry about it. We'll be, ironically, covering everything from MS Now and Fox News because there's no point. There's already Fox News. We don't need CBS. We don't need CNN.
As surreal, at least in terms of how detailed they got.
Maggie, before I let you go, very quickly, how do you react when Trump bitterly and awfully, he goes after you in public and social media and elsewhere?
It's not the first time he's attacked me. We've both been through it. It doesn't impact how we report. And we're in pretty good company at this point in terms of him attacking people.
Hey. It's one of the least annoying things I think that she said about all this. I can't get over how they are kind of normalizing this. Also, it's like the 5th time I've seen them on CNN just hawking this book. Like, I don't get it, man. This is more like corporate boardroom than an academic vibe. Yeah, corporate. Yeah, no, it really is like that. And because of the charitable way we interpret delivering the news, people have no idea how to do the groundwork anymore. Oh, hey guys, I mean, you guys can just get yourself a Ground News account and apparently just read all the headlines and you're an expert. Don't you know? Don't you know that's what it is? Anyway. All righty. Scary Supreme Court ruling. I'm kind of over the Supreme Court stuff. Let's be real. All right. How long is this? All right. Yeah, here we go. We're going to talk about the DSA and the Democratic Party kind of having its own civil war. Well, let's just put it this way. The Democratic Party and the Democrat establishment are now coming for the DSA because they are seeing just how popular everybody is. And okay, don't freeze now. Why freeze now? Don't do that. There we go. Jeez. That was scary. Got my heart rate up a little bit. Yeah, it froze a little bit on my end. I was just like, oh no, am I having internet issues? That would be par for the course to make this a full Pep Talks experience. If you guys don't know, I have like technical issues all the time. Last night, actually, I had technical issues where I wasn't able to get my stream working the way that I usually do. So yeah, I only had the vertical, which apparently was an issue. So, alrighty. Like I said, we, for the next hour or so, I want to cover this whole like breakdown from the mainstream media and the Democratic establishment about the success of the DSA, and also how normies like Philip DeFranco can see right past it. I got to give him a lot of credit. Ever since his wife started getting into politics, I like how he is less afraid to show his political opinion.
PDS. But then, diving right back into the news,
right.
The Democratic Party, it seems poised right now for some sort of civil war. And part of the reason you're seeing this pop up right now is because last Tuesday you had those 3 candidates backed by Zoran Mamdani, including 2 Democratic socialists, winning their primaries. And that sparked this whole renewed conversation over whether socialism is taking over the Democratic Party. Right? And these wins, they also came off as especially provocative because 2 of them won against sitting Democrats, and a third beat the chosen successor to the retiring incumbent. So as far as reactions, you had things like when a reporter asked House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries whether Mamdani's endorsement.
God, his smug, look at that smug face and him just being like, yeah, it's not great.
Endorsements were a fuck you to the party. He gave this not so friendly answer.
Listen, the mayor and I agreed to strongly disagree about some of his endorsements, and he's got work to do in terms of the conversations that he's going to have with members of Congress moving forward.
That response was also pretty tame compared to the response from Representative Josh Gottheimer, because he said, quote, "Many of us believe, as I do, that if you're a socialist, you're not a Democrat." And then with 15 moderate Dems signing this manifesto declaring, quote, "Politics forces false choices between extremes on right and left. We reject them. We believe in a growing, fair, and competitive economy that rewards hard work, innovation,
this is good, though. This is good.
Ownership."
This really does show like how effective our policies are.
Saying we are proud, not ashamed of America. We are.
You know what? I take this as the W that it is.
Extreme, not extreme. We are capitalist, not socialist.
High fives all
then,
around.
Of course, beg the question of, well, what is Mamdani's reaction to the reaction? Well, yesterday, during an interview with ABC's Jonathan Karl, Mamdani addressed all the criticism from his fellow party members.
Yeah, Jeffries be like, I don't actually want to do work.
Sounds pretty socialist to me.
It's not a communist manifesto. It's a moderate manifesto.
I mean, that's great, but what's a party if not its voters? And I'm proud to sit in front of you as the mayor of our city, having received more than 1 million votes, a little less than a year ago. And for a lot of people who ask themselves, what does democratic socialism mean? We've seen a city with democratic socialist principles at the heart of it within our administration. And what we've delivered has been record lows when it comes to murders and shootings. I'm not interested in writing a manifesto or, frankly, in reading one. I'm interested in delivering. And that's exactly what we've been showing.
And really quick, opinion time. If I was those moderate Dems, I'd be pissed too. Mamdani, he seemingly came out of nowhere and just kind of exposed himself as a generational talent that could communicate to the masses. So I will say it does feel like there is at least somewhat of a ceiling on the people that he can reach, at least whether it be independents and such. And that's because Republicans have really effectively, for a certain chunk of the base, made socialism like the boogeyman word. So even saying democratic socialism.
And this is what I've been saying about like how it's like, all right, we either have to do the legwork to really get like people on board with being less scared of socialism, or you got to call it something else. But we did not do that, so you got to take the latter.
You're gonna have people
reformer
will run the opposite direction. I've talked to people that are like, "Oh, I agree with that policy, but I know I'm against socialism." I'm like, that's a socialist policy. So this is just one idiot's pitch. I'm going to start a new party. It's going to be called New American Populists. The slogan is that America needs
people are going to hate it. Y'all are going to hate it.
Yeah, this world has been crazy.
It's true.
This country has been.
People are fucking dumb, man. And unfortunately, you have, like, this is where Trump and the Republicans have no shame about exploiting their stupidity.
Crazy.
Meanwhile, we want to sit here like almost be like, oh, well, it can't be that stupid.
We all need.
And then we're always surprised.
To take a little nap and then get back to work. Then going back to those moderate Dems, they did probably like at least one thing Mamdani said, and that was him addressing the question of 2028, right? Whether he would like to run for president or even be able to run for president, because as Carl pointed out, he cannot do so legally because the Constitution bars immigrants from running.
Do you think that we should change that?
No.
No,
I think the Constitution looks good the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
So even as inoffensive as that answer was, you still had the New York Post finding a way to spin that into a scary headline, writing, Mamdani weighs in on changing the Constitution so he can run for president. Though I will say, to the Post credit, they have at least been consistent in how much they hate Mamdani. There's been a lot of switch-ups happening on the left and the right. But the New York Post, you can count on them, right? And they have been absolutely rabid in their coverage of Mamdani since day one, like even with the most innocuous of stories. So my favorite might have actually come from this weekend because you had headlines like Zoran Mamdani jumps into New York City pool to kick off summer tradition while violating dress code rules, as well as
sensational. It's the New York Post. I grew up in a time where the New York Post was on the fucking, it was on the rags rack at the fucking grocery store. We knew what it was. It's tabloid bullshit.
Mamdani quietly attends Nick's.
But no, you put New York Post, make it look official with that, you know, and you take it out of the grocery store. So all of a sudden, all these old idiots go, no, it's real news now. Ironically,
game sitting in set
platforming actual fake news. Isn't that a bitch? God, we're stupid. Our fucking country is so dumb.
It's cost around $700 or more. And ex-mayors join Hochul, Tisch, and thousands at New York City's Israel parade while no-show Mamdani bizarrely rides bike around town in business suit, no helmet. Right, since Tuesday's primaries, that panic on the right, it's just dialed up to an 11 with, for example, Ben definitely not botting his view Shapiro going off.
The communist America-hating revolution isn't coming. It's here. They want limitless taxation. Transing the kids is a matter of course. Limitless immigration. No limit.
Transing the kids.
On immigration.
They're transing the kids. They want to put them in sports even though they can't now.
Taxpayer-funded abortion for all. Hikers running around.
Aren't you going to get mad when the, I don't know, when the Supreme Court and everything is fixed and then you have nothing to rail against? Like, I mean, dude, don't you isn't this like your whole thing?
Now
put yourself out of business, even though we've seen it, but they're getting this huge cash infusion because this is how it works. You fail upward when you're a fucking right winger.
Saying America is.
Oh, by the way, guys, in the future, I'm going to be having discussions about left wing media and what we need to be doing and
Commie Town.
How we need to get funded because, it's getting a little bad out there.
Do not cow to the commies. Let's say that there's an economic downturn. Let's say a bunch of corruption stories about the Trump administration break between now and 2028, which, by the way, is quite likely to happen.
So let's say, what the fuck? Yep.
That from here, Democrats win.
This is the new reality we live in. So
in November, they do well in November. And the entire media apparatus attributes that to the increasing radicalism of the Democratic Party. Do you really believe that the Democratic immunity to full-scale third worldist communism is going to be strong enough to reject something like an AOC candidacy? Let's be very clear. Zoran Mamdani's world was built by Barack Obama. Barack Obama was step one. He was much better at hiding his politics. Now you don't have to hide your politics anymore because of Barack Obama.
But then when it comes to these kinds of attacks, Mamdani's response has always been the same. Judge me by my deeds, not by whatever boogeyman you have in your head.
Republicans are going to make you the poster child for the Democratic Party.
Let them. We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. We've delivered free childcare for 2-year-olds for the first time in New York City history. We've delivered tens of millions of dollars back to tenants who were taken advantage of by bad landlords. We've delivered 165,000 potholes being paved.
You know, if you look at the polls, it looks like that pitch is working. Mamdani's approval rating, it's gone up in New York State as a whole. And actually, when you narrow it down to just New York City, 58% approve and just 26% disapprove. Of course, that's New York.
And who do you think the 26% are?
New York City, when you're thinking about all the different places you got to win, not everywhere is New York City. And in the meantime, it is going to be interesting to watch this play out, right? Does the DSA have growing influence in the Democratic Party? Is there a growing civil war there? Also, are the Republicans' efforts to make
it seems that way.
Face of the Democratic brand, is that going to hurt Dems or give them maybe energy that they needed really badly? I mean, Mike Johnson, he recently did a thing where he was warning Republicans about what the DSA want, and a lot of it sounded like he was doing promo for them. He was like, these monsters at the DSA, they want to expand the House of Representatives to implement proportional representation, end the Electoral College, end all military and economic aid.
And people were just like, well, that sounds good.
The Israel prosecute U.S. and Israeli leaders responsible for the genocide in Gaza. And among other things, they also want ranked choice voting. And I was like, did Mamdani pay Mike Johnson to say this? Because this very much felt like Mike Johnson believing in Democratic politicians more than the Democratic base believes in Democratic politicians. And again, this part's my opinion. I think a lot of people just get scared by the socialism word. It's a boogeyman word for many. But the truth of the matter is two things.
Dude, they spent over fucking 30 years with the Red Scare bullshit, all of it.
A lot of what Mamdani and a lot of these people, whether they're called Democratic Socialists.
Nobody was really fucking fighting back effectively. They were just going, nuh-uh.
or whatever. Like
that was essentially the sum of all of it. Just no.
Kind of the new upstarts that we've been seeing. A lot of the stuff that they are saying and they're promoting, it's stuff that like FDR would have wanted. And FDR, I think, is like the 6th most popular president in U.S. history. And 2, for that block of Democratic politicians that are trying to frame that what's happening is capitalism versus socialism. What I would say to them is that only ends up being a winning argument if capitalism starts working better for even more people. And right now, for the vast majority of Americans, it's not working fantastically. It's the failure of systems and the people that promote those systems that open the door for alternatives. And it feels like a lot of the politicians that are complaining.
This is honestly why I was kind of shocked, where I was like, wait a minute. Like, you're telling me that they have the most wealth of all time, but they're not going to actually do like a little trickle down just to make sure that we don't, kind of have like the situation where we might be calling for an extreme change in the way that we handle
really didn't learn.
Like, come on.
The lesson that Orange Man Bad was a losing strategy in 2024, and people want to hear what their politicians are going to do to make their lives better. A lot of these new faces.
True. Like the Orange Man Bad shit, like, and this is where Democrats are panicking because that was their entire fucking plan. Was just going Orange Man bad. You see, Orange Man did bad.
And voices that we're seeing, they're doing just that. But hey, we'll see how everything plays out. And of course, with all of this, I'd really love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I bet you would there. I bet you would. Oh, yeah, the Mexican Batman. Hold on. You know what? Fuck it.
Thoughts,
we'll go for that.
And reactions.
Mexican Batman is insane.
Those comments down below. Right, and then
So I didn't get to read up on this. Is this a guy that's actually like in a Batman costume?
Final block today. Let's do some more news you need to know quickly. Starting with just a little warning. If you're thinking about...
Hey, don't take my shtick. That's my thing. Hey, only I get to do the long stun locks on my stream and then have to do my speed read the news. No, Phil. No. And you credit Pep Talks.
Committing a crime in Mexico, think again. Because you might end up taped to a lamppost waiting for the police to come find you while Batman runs off into the night. And while it won't be the real Batman, there is a vigilante in the Lagos de Moreno area. He's apparently just like him, and he's wanted by police for doing all of that to alleged motorbike thieves.
Fucking trust kids.
He's even been leaving sort of...
He trusts on their fucking face.
Sort of a calling card drawing mustaches and cat whiskers right in the Spanish word for thief on their faces once they're taped down. With that, he's also left some big signs above some of the people he's captured saying what crimes they allegedly committed. And he's been propping up the bikes that they allegedly stole right in front of the alleged thieves to show off their crimes. So far, at least 5 men have been discovered like that in the last 10 days. Now, a big thing is that the police, they're treating these men as the victims because while many, they're going to find this funny, we don't actually know if these men are guilty of any crimes. It's still
That's the problem. That's always been the problem when I read Batman and Spider-Man comics.
Unclear.
Where it's like, oh, yeah. Like they had a great Spider-Man issue where Daredevil, like as Matt Murdock, was trying to explain to Spider-Man like how he does not help with the way that the courts like book these people.
Many of them are even under investigation for stealing the bikes. So as far as what we do know is that Batman, he's caused some injuries. One person was even left bloodied and bruised after their encounter with him. But police...
But with Spider-Man, technically, it ended up working out because he was like, yeah, I take pictures of this, though. And he's just like, well, that helps.
It's not clear how close they are to finding this person. They haven't landed any arrests, and they've identified 2 vehicles that could be connected to the incident.
Phil's
That's kind of where we are.
Lurker confirmed.
But then also, in much more serious news, and it's an update this morning, you had Venezuelans waking up to the ground shaking under them again. It turns out it was an aftershock from the twin earthquake.
At, like hearing some of the content creators that actually know who I am.
They had last week, though.
I mean, if there's anything that has helped, like this space has helped get us out there.
There haven't been any reports of any additional damage. But of course, you can just imagine how scary all that is, given that their whole world was turned upside down since those earthquakes hit. You got analysts estimating.
So yeah, covered the earthquakes, and I got more coverage of this DSA thing because this really is the most interesting story in my view. Just because of how like everybody's freaking out. Also, TYT doing their thing. All right, fuck it. Let's listen to Jank pontificate on how people are leaving both parties and how, could you? All right. If we had to place bets, do you think that Jank is going to, I don't know, maybe take some credit for this because he tends to do so? I don't know, guys. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of just guessing. Dude, everybody's just like, wait, we're not allowed to place a bet on an obvious surefire thing, right? I thought that's kind of, no, this is Polymarket age. Come on, guys. All right. Check alert. Well, We already got the Jake alert, so I didn't have to do the trigger warning.
So we've been telling you that independents are the largest voting bloc now.
You got to be honest, whoever they got doing their thumbnails now, he does a good job.
For a long time, right?
They do a good job.
But you never hear that on cable news or in mainstream media. And in fact, they only talk about Republicans and Democrats. And if anyone ever disagrees with the leadership of either side, they go, you're disloyal. You're disloyal to your own party.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
they go, no, you have to be a Republican or a Democrat.
Yes.
And if they ever talk about independence, which is super weird that they're not talking about the largest voting bloc in the country ever, the only time they talk about them is to disparage them. Low information
Yes,
voters.
yes, Jake.
They don't really know what they're doing.
And look, back in the day, back in the day, maybe there was some truth to the idea that registered independent voters are low information voters, but that's not the case right now. If anything, the reason why it has become the largest voting bloc is because they have firsthand knowledge and experience of getting screwed by.
Yeah, that's why I'm careful about like this whole like MAGA leaving and saying like, oh, both sides do it. While that is true, I kind of said this on my show yesterday, where it's like these people are reachable. Now's not the time to condescend them out of being disinterested in our side of politics, especially when we have kind of laid it out there where it's the policies that they're genuinely interested in. When you like, that's why that whole Mike Johnson thing does kind of like, that's a big deal. Because when people hear this, like it's a boogeyman, and then they're like, wait a minute, but that all sounds awesome. That should resonate with us and just be like, okay, we can't overcomplicate this. We cannot constantly shoot ourselves in the foot, and we can't condescend our way into fucking winning. It's just not going to work.
Their party, which they previously preferred. And Jake, you make such a great point about the push for loyalty to a political party or politicians within that party. Because what that does is it kind of perverts the entire democratic process we're supposed to have, where people literally volunteer and run for public office because they allegedly want to be public servants. But then they get voted into office and it feels like we're supposed to be their servants, essentially providing cover for their bad behavior, for their failures, for their refusal to actually make good on their campaign promises. We need to get back to a place, regardless of where you actually stand on the political spectrum, we need to get back to a place where the American people, ordinary citizens, voters, have high standards for our politicians and remind them, no. You work for us. You raised your hand and volunteered.
Well, this is where I've been saying it about even the Supreme Court. Like, we do need to remind everybody that we're the power. Like, these people just represent us. We are the power of America. Donald Trump works for us.
Here to do
this idea that we are just willfully giving up our fucking rights and just the guaranteed protections that our founding fathers did give us. And this is where I'm going to be that guy now, where it's like the founding fathers did kind of have an idea about, not letting tyranny reign and like not having this, like the president be a king. This is why they answer to us. And if we constantly let them just tell us that that is not the case, that billionaires and these fucking, these minorities, like, honestly, it's the minority of the fucking rich, the 1%. That's what I was trying to say, not minorities. But the 1%, dude, like, we're letting 1% of not like, and while the 99% just fucking sit here on our hands, being like, okay, yeah, I guess we can't really do much because that would be too much to ask for.
You wanted to work for us, so either you do that or we're done with you. It's that simple.
Yeah, and so now a lot of people are
save. Yeah, I was like, ooh,
doing that, and the people who used to be the most loyal, because once you tell us about who the next person is, like, so we just mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene, right?
Yep.
In fact, I'll do it. The next person who then came out, and not on the Republican side, but on the Democratic side, was Joy Reid. To be fair, actually, she came out before Tucker Carlson to get the chronology right, and said, I don't know that I'm going to stay in the Democratic Party if they keep saying we have to do everything that Israel wants.
You know what? I really, really respect her for saying that, because I always kind of thought of her as a loyalist to the Democratic establishment.
She was, and I went on Joy's show, which you should check out, and she's completely changed, and she has a totally a different attitude, which I love.
At Pep Talks TV on YouTube and Twitch.
That sounds amazing, and maybe it's the cable news brain rot.
Think about it, guys. Look, me and Joy were on MSNBC. Tucker was on, and Megyn Kelly were on Fox News, and they now say that about Fox News, like we got fed a lot of propaganda over there. We regret the things that we've said there, and they were the most diehard loyalists to the Republican Party. Joy Reid was the most diehard loyalist to the Democratic Party and the Democratic leadership, right? Now we're all going, wait, now that we're unshackled from mainstream media and Washington, you take the blinders off, it becomes so obvious that we're being manipulated into supporting Israel.
And guys, you know, just going back to what the two parties use to divide us, but also provide this illusion that they're very different parties representing different interests. You know, there's a political scientist out of Ireland. He's passed away, but he wrote an incredible book. His name's Peter Mayer, M-A-I-R. And he had a theory about political parties in his country and how they very heavily leaned into divisive social issues in order to do exactly what we're experiencing in our political system right now. So why did the transgender issue, for instance, become such a gigantic issue?
I mean, because idiots like you kind of platformed it in a way that was really helping another side and abandoning the people that supported you in your, political journey.
Wedge issue during the...
I got to be honest, not the best thing. I wouldn't have brought that one up because thank you for reminding us why we don't like you, Anna. Good job.
Last election. When you consider how, small the transgender population is, like we have so many problems in the country. Why was everyone harping on that one issue again and again and again? Because
you let them. You also conceded on it. Like, that's the thing. Instead of just being like, this isn't an issue and maintaining that and just being like, you know what? I don't agree with you, but this isn't an issue. Let's talk about, fucking social policies and, socialized medicine and, let's talk about Israel. No, you were more than happy to fucking yuck it up with Tucker Carlson and the right. Like, shut the fuck up, Anna.
Divisive?
Shut the fuck up. No, you don't get to do that shit. You don't get to actually bring up the fucking, why was the trans issue the divisive one when you didn't do dick about it?
It leads to fighting among ordinary Americans over perceived scary things that are happening in some cases. In some cases, you're not allowed to have a debate or a conversation about it. Everyone was at each other's throats on that issue. And I think it was very much intentional. I think the Republican Party was really good at bringing that issue up again and again and again.
Yeah, and you were more than happy, like I said, happy to concede on it.
Careful.
And you were happy to fucking, again, be useful in their fucking narrative. Good job, Anna.
With what they're trying to distract you with.
What a dumbass.
Keep your eye on the prize.
Two quick things I'll add to that. One, whenever Israel's in trouble, they always...
The fact that she can't see it, like, dude, the ego on her.
Distraction. Okay, so like, for example, in the UK, they're going back several years and bringing back grooming gangs. Oh, remember, you have to hate the Muslims. Don't look at Epstein and all the child pedophilia there and etc. Don't look at the wars that that are super unpopular in the UK. Muslims, you got to hate the Muslims. It's part culture war to divide us.
Yeah.
Part a way to say, don't hate Israel, hate the Muslims. One of their pundits here in America, while talking to,
again, they did this for 20 plus years.
The conservative guy I debated, the Indian guy, Dinesh D'Souza, said, yeah, it's hard to get people to like Israel, so we're attacking Muslims to get them to focus on. She said that, yeah, to Dinesh D'Souza, yeah. And I was like, you shouldn't have said that on air. Okay,
wow,
yeah. So like, it's so crystal clear. And Anna, I had a wow moment in your reporting while I was gone.
Yeah,
because you and Glenn Greenwald were talking about labor together, and Dropsite News wrote a brilliant article about them because you said it. I not only watched the video, but I then went and read the Dropsite News article. Oh my God, guys, it was such an excellent explanation. So of why I got banned, but that's the tiny issue compared to the larger iceberg that they explained. There's a group called Labor Together, and their job was to redirect the Labor Party away from Jeremy Corbyn and away from criticism of Israel into supporting not just Israel, but most of the wealthy and the powerful in Great Britain.
Yeah.
And the guy they picked.
I wonder if they're actually going to say the same thing about the Supreme Court today.
To redirect the Labor Party way back in the day was Keir.
This is essentially what we just did.
Starmer. And to me, that article, every layer of it was amazing. But one of the most amazing parts was they're like, Starmer will pretend to do these big changes. That's what he'll promise in the elections so he can regain the labor voters. But once he gets into office, he won't do any of that. And that right there describes the entire plan of the Democratic Party in my lifetime here in America.
You're exactly right. And I think now Republican voters are seeing it with their own party.
Every time you're...
Yeah, not really. God. Man. Anna out here talking about fucking, oh yeah, the Democrats, they go after, the farther left while not recognizing that she plays the same fucking game. Like, I just don't understand how people are still charitable, like, to her the way that they are. Cenk at least is consistent. Like, dude, she, again, I just get this like Joe Rogan vibe from her where it's just whoever's in the room. And now she won't put herself in the room with extreme leftists because she knows that she betrayed every fucking principle that she was holding for the past 20 something years. And that put her in the position that she's in right now. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. This is fun. Little intermission while we go deeper into this. Man carrying thing. He did a really funny video on this. So if you guys don't already follow him, you really should. I'm gonna put his link in the chat here. There we go. Cool. All right, this is hilarious.
Last night, various elections swept across America, including in the Big Apple, where political underdog Zoran Mamdani defeated Andrew Cuomo for mayor of New York City, drawing the ire of President Trump among many Democratic and Republican politicians. Your comment is Senator Robert C. Entris. Senator, many are calling Mamdani's populist, strongly left messaging the future of the party. What say you?
I say this is a great day for Democrats, with all the various elections and so forth.
And what about Mayor-elect Mamdani? What are your thoughts on
What about him?
his victory? Exactly. Based on polling, young Democrats are overwhelmingly enthusiastic about him and his left-leaning policies. Look, the kid is talent, and it's a terribly great that he's having such a devastatingly positive impact on the young, impressionable future of this country. Voters cite his emphasis on affordability as a key reason he won the election. I heard that voters like when you talk about the concept of hope and various hope-related, dream-oriented, hope-related goals. Hope goals. We have hope goals. That a future is hopeful and hope is hope. Senator, are you worried for New York? No. If Mr. Mamdani was
he's old school onion with new school millennial skeptic. Oh, yeah, you know what?
such a scary guy, maybe people would be talking about hope instead of how they can't afford rent or whatever. Sorry, do you not support the mayor-elect? That is a great question. How will he support Israel? That's not what I was. This means nothing to me. It's just it's like whatever.
How will he support Israel? That's not what we were talking about. Dude, he's so awesome. This is the stuff that gets me by with like this political reality that we have to live every freaking day. Shit like that. And this is why, like, when I was talking about Maggie Haberman, I can't stand the way too serious, like, not like they cannot recognize how they're the ones who put us into where we are today. Like, that type of attitude towards politics is literally why we are here. So, yay! We need to stop calling these people centrists. I mean, are they not? I don't even know. The thing is, I'm getting a little tired of the labels game because I've seen, like, dude, I've had it applied to me. Like, I've been told that I'm a centrist. I've been told, I've been accused of trying to sow party division, where I was just like, wait, what? Whatever, man. Like I said, the big thing that we need to do is calm the fuck down, chill the fuck out, try to get a lot of people on board with our policies, get them to vote for it, and then we can deal with everything else later. But this is where, we tend to, like, and I hate beating this dead horse, but it's true. I've watched it happen for the past 20 years, man. Like, god damn, we get so close. We get so close. We can't recognize the wins. And then we just sit here going like, everything sucks, everything's awful, we're not going to ever win, we're never going to get these people. And then we don't do anything to change, like, our strategy. It is literally, it's insanity. We're not going to change the world by passing out pamphlets on the subway. That's just not going to happen. Okay? I'm sorry. I know I hate breaking this to you guys, but literature ain't gonna do it anymore. People, I retold this joke on my own stream about Mitch Hedberg, where he's just, I swear to God it was Mitch Hedberg, but where it's just like, yeah, you know what I don't like about literature, where they hand you something and it's just like, here, do you want to throw this out? It's just. If you want to prove me wrong, if you see somebody passing out pamphlets, I don't care what it's for. I don't care if it's like for our politics. I don't care if it's like a church. Go to the trash can nearest them and just see how many pamphlets are in there. When do we get back to brunch? Ooh, brunch. Brunch is good. Brunch is great. We should we should be the brunch party. That's what we're going to do. Fuck it. Let's just start a joke party and see if it picks up. The brunch party. Everybody loves brunch. Like, I love brunch. You love brunch. Who doesn't love a good brunch? Fucking some breakfast for lunch? Hell yeah. And then you can mix it like, dude, brunch is one of the best things because you know what you can do? You can mix in like French fries with like an egg sandwich, which I don't know if I call myself trash, but if you, I'll just say it, if you're trash like me, then you know that sounds awesome. You know, who doesn't love some good steak fries? But yeah, like I was saying, the brunch party. Ooh, with some gravy. Now we're talking. Let's get some the Canadians involved here. Some poutine. Let's freaking go. And yeah, like we could talk about like what foods we all like and just like how like everything's awesome about like great foods. And then we could just be like, hey, we want to share great foods with you. You know what else we want to share? Healthcare. We want to do like socialized medicine. I know socialism. Ooh, but don't you like socialism when it's free food? That's good, right? Yeah, it's good. Also, you know, having regulations is good because we got a food inspector here to make sure that, you know, nobody's got poopy hands like handling your food. So that's good too. You know, like I like having a little peace of mind when I know that some dude's not picking his nose and then, you know, like making my burrito. That's good. So I think that these are things we can all get behind, right? Single stalls for all, you know, fuck the bathroom bills. Single stalls for all. What are we doing? Like, just, you know, fucking. And when I say single stalls, I'm talking full fucking stalls. Now, I understand that technically it's for safety reasons, but you can have like a way of getting into those like full body stalls. Like if you've ever been to a Buc-ee's truck stop, we've talked about this on my stream, then you know that it's like, no, this is doable. Like, I don't understand what we're doing here. Like, this is the future. Why are we not in the future? Like, this is ridiculous. Community is important. Absolutely. You guys actually, you know, through me streaming and me having an awesome audience, which includes a lot of you guys, if not most, you guys have taught me the importance of community and getting to know my neighbors a little bit. You know, I got some awesome neighbors. You know, I found some of the houses that, you know, they got the pride flags, they got the the we support in this house, we support, you know, everything, and we don't allow hate. Like, I don't want to paraphrase. Or I am paraphrasing. God damn. I just realized I haven't eaten breakfast, and I think that that wall's starting to hit me. Definitely gonna have to go and do that before I start my next stream. But yeah, no, it's cool. Like, I got to know some of my neighbors. My wife has gotten to know a lot of our neighbors, and it's been freaking awesome. I did get to know one neighbor that I'm getting the idea that they are a little more Republican than I thought, than I even thought. It's like, oh, dang. Oh, they are definitely not happy. So I know I'm joking about the brunch party, but the thing is, the more I'm thinking like that, I just kind of take a step back. I'm like, the brunch party, guys, the brunch party. You don't have to be left. You don't have to be right. You don't even have to technically be an independent. We can all just agree brunch is awesome. So we start from a point of agreement and we work towards the betterment of America. We're not joking. The thing is, I'm really not. I am, but I'm not. Wait, Abba's departure. Wait, Abba's leaving, or did he like... Wait. Oh, they're live. Wait. Okay, whatever. They've clickbaited that shit before where they're just like, oh, we're splitting up, blah, blah, blah. All right. Trump strong arms Netanyahu into Iran deal. You better go along with this. Oh, here we go. Here. You know what? Fuck it. Let's bring this up. This still plays into the Zohran Mamdani thing that we were doing. Yeah, no, they're breaking points, man. I said this yesterday that Breaking Points really is one of like the best news shows out there outside of Democracy Now. Now, Democracy Now, the reason we have not watched that here is because I am using that on my show a little bit later. So you're going to alienate the lunch supremacists from our coalition, Pep. What? How? Because technically at a brunch, that's the beautiful thing is you can still order your lunch, but you can also get breakfast. It's the best. This is why I'm saying, how am I alienating them? I am welcoming the burger lovers. You know, if you're an IHOP connoisseur, honestly, this is one of those things, random. IHOP has really good hamburgers. Just a random thing. I remember like this was about a year or two ago. I went to IHOP and I was kind of like not feeling breakfasty for once, where I was just like, I don't want any. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'll try their. I was surprised. I was like, oh, damn. So not bad. Not bad. Brunch is 9 to noon. We should extend brunch. A little bit extended hours. Let's go back to like actually McDonald's, like McDonald's breakfast. What are we doing? Why can't McDonald's breakfast just be till 1? What are we doing? Can we acknowledge the people that sleep a little late or just like brunch like myself? I would love a midday McGriddle, but no, can't have that. That would make life too good. God, now I'm going back to the days where I could do that. Fuck. All day brunch. Let's go. No, seriously. Under whose rule is brunch 9 to noon? I don't know. That seems arbitrary. Why we do? Wait. Why are we allowing them to dictate 9 to noon? I don't think so. We should go 10 to 2. 10 to 2 should be. Oh, I like that. 10 to 2 is way better because 9 o'clock. That's breakfast hours, man. Once you get double digits, okay, you could. But hold the phone. McDonald's. They go at 11 or 10:30, just depending on where you're at. Which, you ever done that where you get to McDonald's at 10:30 and they're just like, we're done with breakfast, and you're like, mother, because you're like, I thought it was 11. Y'all suck. I'll take some chicken nuggets, please. I have done this. Oh, dude. So when my wife was in the hospital, the only thing that was in front of the hospital was McDonald's. I ate McDonald's, I think, all 4 days because, dude, that hospital food was a little like it was good, but it was expensive. I paid fucking like $16 for a salad and a soup. I was like, yeah, I got the McDonald's app. I'll just, yeah, I don't need to bankrupt myself trying to eat. So, yeah. Had me a lot of that. Who wants a burger at 10 a.m.? I mean, Pep does occasionally. Again, if it's there, I guess. Pep was trying the Super Size Me diet. Yeah, did you know that whole movie was technically bullshit and like whatever, man. Everything in moderation, and honestly, like for instance, if you eat McDonald's for breakfast, maybe don't eat it for lunch. You know, that kind of thing. Also, the whole single meal plan does work. Kevin Smith like swears by it, and I kind of swear by it because I've done it for a while, where I just kind of eat one big meal at like 2 or 3, and then I just kind of snack throughout the day. Lately, I have been having breakfast because my wife also needs to gain some weight. So. All right. That's an actual pep talk. It's like, wait a minute. I thought we were here to like, be brought up. Like that's not your pep talks. It's like, no, my pep talks are just randomly talking about like food I like. And, occasionally just being like, hey, I think this guy might be a little lifted right now. Finding out he was a raging alcoholic really undermined his claims. Wait, who? Wait. Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah. Yeah, Morgan Spurlock. Yeah, fine, exactly. And then him not disclosing that in his medical reports, which again, dude, all right, you don't need to share that, but that was like kind of the whole reason you were doing this, and then you were essentially falsifying medical fucking data at that point. Like, it's bullshit. Haven't had McDonald's in years. I don't miss it. Oh, I unfortunately am, like I said, I got a little bit of that trash gene in me where the little bit of salt, sugar, fucking, I'm all for it. I don't care. I just don't care. Life's too short to not admit that I just love me a fresh Big Mac when it is like freshly made. None of them drawer burgers. Like I am definitely like, I got the secrets down to this, by the way. But yeah, man, I love me just a good Big Mac every once in a while. 6-piece nug. Like, let's go. The Crunchwrap Supreme, I can't deal without it. I'm sorry, Taco Bell. Do you understand, like, as somebody who has lived in a certain tax bracket for the majority of his life, that, like, there's also the reality that I wouldn't be able to live without some of this. Like, man, unfortunately, it is also, like, dependent on where, like, you work. Like Jimmy, I worked right next door to a Jimmy John's and a Chipotle. I couldn't afford to always go to Chipotle. And because I got to know like the Jimmy John's crew over there, they would always give me the employee discount. So, I was getting the skinny turkey Toms. Cause you can't add the healthy shit like the lettuce and tomato, can't do that. So, oh, wow. Meat in general. Yeah, dude, meat in general is crazy right now. Yeah, red meat is just nuts. Yeah, I made some bomb ass smoked chicken the other night that I'm still surviving off of, which I will be eating a little bit here. Anyway, I'm still locking hard while we got Crystal just like I said, welcome to Pep Talks.
Interesting comments.
Oh, yeah, this is the thing about Dave Portnoy running for mayor.
It's from Dave Portnoy yesterday on Fox News with Jesse Waters. Apparently, he is considering a run for office and maybe
just let him.
Even would run against Zoran Mamdani for mayor of New York City. Let's see.
Fucking that schmuck from the Howard Stern show.
Listen.
Fucking Michael Rappaport.
Losing my mind on what's happening right now, especially in New York.
Look at this alcoholic. Look at just this alcoholic buffoon.
You got the Nazi in Maine. This really, really, really worries me. So
you might run against Mamdani.
I would love to run against. If I was going to run, it would be here. Can I win here? I have no idea. I don't know the demographics, whether they get enough votes. There's a lot of people who like me in New York City. I know that. I've done a lot of good in New York City when I wasn't thinking about politics, whether it's the Barstool Fund, pizza places. So it wasn't for show. I've had a real job. I've done real things, unlike these clown politicians who have never had a job and never been in the real world for a day.
Right.
But the people voting for these people who just won are like these young, white, like Ivy League-ish, elite-ish women. It's like, who are they? Like, they'll never vote for me. They'll never believe in common sense.
When you're unhappy, you want to make other people unhappy. And that.
I don't think your election is going to go too well if you start off by insulting the voting base, And
Tommy Bahama for mayor.
Seriously, but we talked yesterday about how Zoran's favorability just keeps going up in the state at large, but in the city of New York specifically, which is obviously his constituents. Also, fantastic analysis from Michael Lang, who looks at New York politics like block by block of the coalitions that not only elected Zoran, but now have elected Daria Lisa and elected Claire Valdez. And so this notion that Portnoy is offering here that, the voters are just like the young college-educated white girls, you are not going to win a Harlem congressional district on the backing of like young delusional white girls, nor are you going to win, in really anywhere in the city, which is highly diverse, multiracial. And
we call them pick-me's.
So when you're talking about, these coalitions that have come together, it is a young, multiracial coalition that is backing these candidates. And they really have grown significantly beyond that like initial white activist base. And I think that is why there's a big freak out because you could no longer just say, well, you can only win in this type of district or you only can win this with this type of voter. When you have that level of broad-based support, it becomes much more of a threat. But in any case, I mean, I don't really take this seriously, but I do think it'd be funny if he ran against Zoran. And I think he would run into a brick wall because right now New Yorkers are absolutely loving Zoran.
It's the toxic millennial election that we deserve. Really,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to do something like that one day.
Really?
Would that surprise you? It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know. I'm not that much of a student of Dave Portnoy. I just do think it's funny because he's, there was this whole like saga we talk about the Barstool conservatism, which is the core theme of which was being like anti-woke. But when it comes to, anything regarding Israel and quote unquote anti-Semitism, and suddenly, oh my God, Graham Platner's tattoo in his Reddit post, he's a Nazi, right?
The quote Nazi running in Maine, he just said.
Yes, exactly. So I do find it's kind of laughable from him.
But you heard like some of the megalomania, even in that interview, he was like, all of the good that I've done. That's what I'm saying. Like, I could actually see that. I could see him at some point. Maybe even like just dipping his toe in. He hires a consultant, tries to test the waters a little bit. Him. But it is interesting because in New York, that block by block analysis from Michael Lang, I was looking at it yesterday, and I was comparing it with what just happened here in DC, where a lot of the polling did indeed find, you could call it like gentrifiers were more attracted to Janice Lewis-George, the Democratic Socialist, the DSA candidate here in DC. But what I think is interesting when you look at New York is that this is where the DSA is seeing it as, I don't want to say laboratory because that kind of downplays it, but like a political laboratory to build a coalition.
Yeah.
This isn't new news though. Like I kind of covered this. It's how it's always worked in politics. They kind of do the experiments on the coast. In California, it'll eventually move to Portland and then Seattle, and then you will see how it kind of works. And then with New York, it kind of makes its way down the East Coast and then kind of spreads out to Chicago.
And
that's how it goes. It always has.
Actually working. It's
except for Barack Obama, where you could argue that one came from Chicago.
Working class voters, non sort of like elite voters, to borrow the Portnoy word, which is true in other cases. Like you have seen that happen in other cases, but that's what's happening right now under the nose of people like Dave Portnoy is that they're actually building a coalition that's different from what we've seen in the past, where they're bringing aboard working class people. Looking at even like the Espelot results was fascinating because was different actually from what we just saw here in DC. It was not clear cut in any way.
Well, in DC, if memory serves, Janice Lewis-George, first of all, she won quite convincingly, overwhelmingly. And again, in DC, you can't do that if you have an all-white coalition. There continues to be a very diverse.
No, and this is where we were saying that like the redistricting can actually backfire on them.
Diverse city.
Like, because now they're not looking at it from the point of view that now they just absorbed a whole bunch of black constituents.
And the only areas
RF, how you doing?
that she lost were the wealthiest, whitest areas of the city. So she also was able to really defy the conventional wisdom about what her campaign was and what it was appealing to, and did win on a multiracial, multi-class, class diverse also coalition, which is something similar to what we saw here. Let's go ahead and put up, this is another.
Guys, if you are just joining us from the Majority Report, welcome in.
Shot across the bow for, I think, mainstream analysis and also
one of these days, I wish they would redirect to this space. That'd be nice.
Fox News analysis, but D1 up on the screen. This, I noted this with great interest. So they did this poll where they asked people their 0 to 100 feeling of various politicians. And so this is like your vibe. Do you like these people? Not, their policies or whatever. Just like, do you like these people? The most popular politician among the Democratic base continues to be Barack Obama by a pretty decent margin. He's at 54. Next up, you've got Bernie Sanders. You see this becoming very relevant in a lot of these primaries. So he has endorsed, for example, Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan, and Abdul has been running ads touting his Bernie Sanders endorsement. And from this poll, you can understand why he's doing that. Guess who comes in right on the heels of the GOAT Bernie Sanders himself? Zoran Mamdani. And then you have the Democratic Party overall. I'm actually surprised that it scores that well. Pete Buttigieg, John Ossoff, and then you have AOC. So some of the most popular Democratic figures for Democratic voters are Bernie Sanders and Zoran Mamdani. I think that is pretty noteworthy. And the Republican ones here too are interesting. First of all, no Republican really rates all that high. It's just kind of noteworthy. Marco Rubio comes in first, right around the AOC mark. Then you've got the Republican Party. Then you've got J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. Then you've got Elon Musk, Mike Johnson, John Thune, and this is one is worth. Well, we should do another segment on the Tucker Carlson, like the theory that he could win a Republican primary, because he comes in pretty low here at 25%, and I think that's or 28% rather. And I do think there is a little bit of delusion about what the Republican base would be looking for in a candidate, and since Tucker has gotten crosswise with Trump, you know, that's something that matters a lot to the Republican base. So I think he would have a hard time.
I mean, it's the same way that, you know, they're talking about, oh, well, maybe we can do like the true Democratic Party and then the DSA party, you know, like in the
Republican primary at this point.
This is so interesting. Like, these results are really, really interesting.
It is kind of funny to watch this happen in real time.
For a number of reasons, one of which is, to your point,
like,
not a lot.
Oh shit! Now they're starting to panic, huh? Oh, the America First Party, huh?
Of Republicans rating up there. Marco Rubio, back in 2015, I think there was polling. I have to remember the specific poll. I remember it being written up in the Washington Post, but he was, of all of the Republican candidates who were flirting with the nomination at that point, they polled him against Hillary Clinton.
Barbecue mac and
Rubio
cheese.
was the only one of all the Republican candidates that was actually beating Clinton with millennials at the time, the like young voting demo back in 2015.
Oh my God.
And that's actually, like, I think there is something about Rubio that gets underestimated both in the MAGA right and sometimes on the left, which is that his ability to communicate conservative ideas in a way that feels, I would say, almost non-political when he's really cooking, when he's giving like a stump speech. That's also what caused him problems in the 2016 election, because Chris Christie called him out for like sticking to his talking points. So anyway, all that is to say, I understand why Rubio is up there further. I think it's
angel food,
especially when you have a more like multiracial voting electorate or electorate in general
with the Republican base.
Yeah, there's something about Rubio that clicks with more people. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he's the one Republican that's up there a little bit higher. It's not to say that he's like a shoo-in, but it is to say the reason that Trump, who is pretty, like, one thing he understands is television and social media, and understands is an interesting way to put it, but he has a knack. We'll put it that way.
Sort of an animal instinct.
It's an animal instinct. That's well said. I think it's one of the reasons he gravitates towards Rubio, is that he sees there's a telegenic element of him that J.D. Vance doesn't have. So that was interesting. But these DSA people have become pop culture figures.
Yeah,
truly. It doesn't mean that that's going to be enough to win a primary and then a presidential election, but it does speak to something in the culture that is much more favorable to that right now.
Yeah, well, and with Zoran, so Zoran really at this point, you know, because Bernie is older, and Zoran is the one who's really out there in the face of the movement at this point and putting the principles into practice and notching wins in New York City. And there was such an incredible freak out about him. We talked a little bit about yesterday.
Did you know that mac and cheese was invented by James Hemming, one of Thomas Jefferson's slaves? No, I did not.
That I also think that the critics of not just him, but by proxy, the candidates that he supports, end up looking very hysterical and disconnected from the impression that most people have of them. That comes through with, you know, Portnoy here calling Graham Plattner a Nazi. I mean, if you genuinely think this guy is a Nazi, like, that is completely insane. You can have issues with, you know, things he said and done, blah, blah, blah.
Or you control
while ignoring the very fascist fucking bullshit that this administration's doing. Okay. Ignore history even more there, dude.
Feel like, oh, you guys have a Nazi. But if you
really genuinely think that this man is a Nazi, like, that is just completely delusional and no one serious
to your argument.
Read through his Reddit posts, right? You can see all of his political views there, plain as day, and they have no bearing, you know, no relationship
that's a real way of trying
to any
to
sort of
spin it.
Nazi ideology. At the same time, Bruce Blakeman, who's the county executive for Nassau County in New York, which is a large county, he went on Fox News and called Brad Lander, a Jewish man who happens to oppose war crimes being committed by Israel with the consent and assistance of our government, compares him to a Nazi guard and a quote unquote collaborator. Utterly insane, delusional, absurd reading of things. Let's go ahead and take a listen to Bruce Blakeman.
I think the question, though, he talks about genocide in Gaza when there was no genocide in Gaza. What you had was a military action with military objectives on the part of Israel. Take that in contrast to Hamas, which raped women, cut off babies' heads.
These old folks, like when I see old fogies talking about like this, it's just like, oh, dude, walk towards the light faster, please.
And shot people that were unarmed. So when you compare that, there's no moral.
But in what instance? Well, I mean, talk about a moral equivalency. You're likening him to a Nazi guard.
Well, he's a collaborator.
That seems like a false moral equivalency, does it not?
He's a collaborator. There's no question in my mind. He's either a collaborator or a coward.
And what is that distinction? I saw you said that to the New York Times. What is the distinction in likening someone to a Nazi concentration camp?
Well, you have to know your World War II history. You have to know about the Holocaust. And the collaborators were people who were Jewish, who would identify Jewish families, Jewish children that were in hiding.
I understand the facts. I'm saying, what is the difference in the distinction you're making in terms of Mr. Bradlander?
The distinction I'm making is that the fact that he is Jewish has nothing to do with his positions. As a matter of fact, being a Jewish person, a Jewish public official, it should be his responsibility to speak out and speak the truth.
This is just beyond disgusting. And of course, he has to repeat the atrocity propaganda lies, the babies that are beheaded, the mass rape, which is contested. And then I love as he says that Hamas shot people who were unarmed. Do you know what Israel has been doing for these past, not just post-October 7th, but
because he doesn't want to acknowledge it
for literally decades? I mean, we can show you the
actual
babies
believers that this
who
is not
have
happening
been executed by Israel, by the IDF. And furthermore, we are not funding and arming Hamas. We are funding and arming Israel. So, but to smear Bradlander this way is just utterly disgusting. I mean, let's put the next images up on the screen. This is the man at the Pride Parade that you were saying is a Nazi collaborator, that he's like the equivalent of a Nazi guard here. It's just, and so this is where any normal person, like I know there are Fox News grandmas that will eat this kind of thing up, right? But
CNN grandmas.
And maybe some CNN grandmas, but not that many, I don't think, at this point, given how not just young people in Democratic Party, but there has been a whole shift of viewpoint in the Democratic Party top to bottom, and very much among independents as well. But, outside of the Fox News and right-wing echo chamber, people are going to look at Bradlander and listen to him talk and his viewpoints and hear you compare him to a Nazi and think you are completely insane and out to lunch.
Yeah, and that propaganda used to work, including on people like me, until 5 years ago, especially the last several years. But it's really powerful and it's really gross. And it's also, I'll just argue, if you're a proponent of a robust alliance with Israel, it's not helpful to your cause whatsoever, because you are totally... first of all, the smear has lost its power. But second of all, you are totally misreading and arguing against a straw man, which is not, again, going to be helpful for you to defeat the arguments of people who are saying, look at what Israel did in Gaza over the last several years, continuing to just say you're a Nazi collaborator doesn't prepare you to defeat that argument in the court of public opinion, especially now that people have so much more access to information, bypassing the traditional gatekeepers. That argument actually is very interesting as a media artifact, because what you see him almost coasting on, thinking he can coast on, is just saying, well, you got to know the history of World War II and the had babies. And Caitlin is pushing back.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, I honestly think he was surprised to get that level of pushback on CNN.
He should have gone on with Jake Tapper or Dana Bash.
It might have gone differently.
It might have gone in a different direction.
But those were basic questions, right? Those are
about
totally fair
Bradlander smears
questions. Yep. And again, I think you could reflexively kind of coast on the goodwill
just in general
a lot of Americans had towards Israel and the genuine opposition. This is what I think is so disgusting about it. The genuine opposition a lot of Americans have to actual bigotry. We have made enormous strides. If you look at public polling on anti-Semitic sentiments, what we have made in terms of progress on that in this country very quickly, by the way, is a really beautiful thing that we actually should be proud of. And to prey on the disgust the average American
and Emily is on right-wing platforms. She behaves very differently. Yeah.
Towards bigotry is so like that's what I find to be the most disgusting element of all of it, because it's exploitation of something that we've worked really
of a
hard.
noble impulse. Yeah. Well, I think he should listen to Vice President J.D. Vance, who says that if everything is Jew hatred, then nothing is Jew hatred. I think maybe he should take a listen to some of the things the Vice President has said recently. We've got some really significant primary challenges happening today in the state of Colorado. Emily and Ryan will, of course, cover the results tomorrow.
Hell yeah. Guys, by the way, if you were not with us to see the debate of the Colorado Republican challengers for governor, oh my God. We have a treat coming up tonight. This is going to be so much fun. I get to watch this guy again. You're mean.
Up on the screen.
You're mean too.
We interviewed yesterday two of the candidates in these races. Millet Quiros, who is challenging Diana DeGette in a Denver congressional district, and that one really looks very possible. Millet is a DSA candidate. Hassan Piker is there in the state today to rally for her. There's been a surge of enthusiasm for her race and the possibility there after the DSA victories last week. Diana DeGette is in the Congressional Progressive Caucus, but there's all this dark money that's flowing in from a variety of shady sources to back her and keep her in, because she is, she is progressive on certain issues, but she also, at the end of the day, is quite corporate and, on a key issue for a lot of young voters in particular, but really voters at large in the Democratic Party on Israel. She has not been good. You also have a primary challenge in the governor's race as well, that Michael Bennett is running in the Democratic gubernatorial primary, and he is very well known in the state, senator, all of that sort of stuff. And it looks like he has a stronger challenge than was anticipated. And then Julie Gonzalez, who we also interviewed yesterday, is challenging John Hickenlooper in the Senate. And there are some indications that her campaign has a lot of energy as well, although I think the statewide lift is more difficult than what Millet would be pulling off in that Denver congressional district. So in any case, the piece that I just had up there from Politico was just basically like an accounting of how the Dem establishment is completely freaking out. But Colorado is not the only place that they have to be concerned about. We have another left-leaning candidate, more in the progressive lane than in the DSA wing, that is leading in the Minnesota Senate primary. We can put the D4 element up on the screen. This is the latest poll out of Minnesota, finds Peggy Flanagan, who is the current lieutenant governor, at 43%, Angie Craig, who is a very moderate Democrat. I think she was like healthcare medical device something. Anyway, she comes from a corporate job into Congress. She's at 36%, and you've got 22% who are unsure. So that one is close, but according to this poll, at least Peggy Flanagan, who is more of the left-wing candidate, has the lead. And, there's others as well that
Peggy.
After
that's a name you don't hear often anymore.
Colorado.
Peg.
You're going to be, seeing more of these primary challenges rise to the surface and get online support and traction and national attention, because it truly is a party reckoning. Espaillat is the perfect example. Again, this is a guy who, Goldman in Brad Lander's opponent.
Even short for.
He took out Dan Goldman in Manhattan is another perfect example where
very Jewish district. So if you're saying he's
one
of the Nazi collaborator,
one of the most Jewish districts in the country,
you're calling a lot of Jews in New York Nazi collaborators or supporters of a Nazi collaborator.
Yes, and Lander didn't win by a slim margin.
No.
It was called immediately. It was an overwhelming landslide.
One of the first ones,
And Goldman, again, was kind of a resistance Dem figure, involved in the impeachment hearings and all this sort of stuff on certain issues, positioned himself as progressive. But at the end of the day, voters said,
Maggie is Margaret. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you support.
Wait, so what is it? Pargaret?
Moral, atrocities that are unacceptable to us, and we want nothing to do with you. And
it's not like Pamela. Pamela's Pam.
So that's, why they overwhelmingly voted for a guy they felt a lot more comfortable with, Brad Lander.
Yeah, and Ryan will be here, of course, to break down those, as you mentioned, Colorado results tomorrow. Also should mention that Angie Craig got the endorsement yesterday of Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who's been obviously out front of the conflict between the state of Minnesota, the city of Minneapolis, between them and Donald Trump. But he went with Angie Craig in that endorsement yesterday, who was
Pegantha? Is that actually like a thing?
Lagging according to the polls that Crystal just
showed.
I'm
gonna have to look it up.
A lot to watch, and I think one big takeaway, if you're somebody that is sympathetic to the political establishment, maybe you're even like a left of center Democrat who doesn't like what you see from.
It's literally a short form for Margaret. Margaret Meg Peg. Margaret was the first shortened to Meg. People in the Middle Ages love to rhyme, so Meg was altered to Peg, adding E. Peggy.
DSA candidates. You're someone on the right who's horrified by what you see from some DSA candidates. I think one of the big themes, just looking at all these races, is how, to your point, Crystal, there is a new coalition building happening on the ground. It is not just true that this is a totally elite movement anymore. I mean,
I just feel like that's like saying Gary and Larry comes from Lawrence. Like, that's dumb.
You and I can debate about whether that was always the case, whatever, but a lot of people coming out of, academia and...
Yeah, nicknames are weird. I'm going to just say it. I don't know. Humans...
Probably is a good example. I think she's like in her 7th year of a PhD. It's like people who are upwardly mobile but spend a lot of time.
Harry is short for Henry. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, you're right.
Academia at elite school.
Henry. It's literally it's same amount of syllables.
Columbia in her case. So obviously there's appeal there. But what's happening right now is a broadening of the coalition, or attempt to broaden the coalition, and we're seeing some successes.
Well, Robbie. Yeah, Robbie. And then, Bob. Yeah, fuck. Wait, yeah, nicknames are stupid.
At that. Yeah. So that's I think a pretty significant.
I mean, I technically have one. Yeah, Charlie, and Charles.
Significant development.
Yeah, Chuck sucks.
Takeaway for people who are watching this race and these races and are maybe not happy with the DSA candidates.
Look, here's the thing: the establishment.
I mean, I technically have the same. Well, hold on, Charles. No,
successfully sold people on one model of here's how we're going to defeat Trump.
Yep.
Right, and it
was Dan Goldman. It was Dan Goldman,
and it was Dan Goldman, and it was Hillary Clinton, and it was Joe Biden.
We need to consult Jerry
who
on
was
this.
Able to eke out a victory, yes, in 2020, but the idea that was going to be the end of things.
Wait, James is one of them too.
And we're going to quote unquote go back to
Jim. Like, damn it, Jim. Like, what? No, his name is James. It should be Jam, not Jim. Why? Why do we do this? And I don't like it, and I'm kind of over it. I just realized that I have a little bit of a pet peeve now.
Normal, that obviously didn't happen
before.
So their credibility is in the toilet, even just on a basic, pragmatic.
Liam.
Okay, how?
Well, Liam. No, that makes sense because it's just the back end of William. No, I'm all right with that. I'm all right with that one a little bit because, that Jim is also short for William. Oh, get the fuck out of here. No.
How are we going to win?
Pep peeve.
And so people are no longer cowed by this. Well,
I like it.
You may like this candidate, but you can't have them. You got to do this other. We got to go with Angie Craig. You got to go with Haley Stevens. And speaking of Haley Stevens, and
you're just kind of repeating what we've been talking about since fucking Bernie lost. Like, it's just the same shit. Like, you're just going to be talking about how, oh, look, they're telling you what candidate to have. What candidate to like. All right, guys, let's start wrapping this up. I just realized that I'm going to bring this over here. All righty. As we do wrap up here, just a reminder that you guys can catch me at 4 p.m. today. Damn it, Pep, I'm a doctor, not a linguist. Nice. Fucking perfect. Well, yes, we have got, I never recognized how much that annoyed me until now, but now I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that is a pep peeve. See you soon. Yes. I'm gonna be taking the next 2 hours to go run some errands very quickly, and I emphasize very quickly. I'm gonna go upstairs, eat, and then go pick up some dry cleaning and all that fun shit. So yay! Love errands. I do not. I hate them. It was funny. I was talking to one of my friends about that, where she was just like, I love running errands. It's like my peaceful time. It's just like, yeah. I don't even have kids, and I hate it. I hate going to the grocery store. It's just, yeah. I hope you guys, if you don't feel the same way, good for you. I'm glad that you can find joy in things. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to ask you to dox yourself. Just think of one, and I'm sure there's some good ones. I mean, no, I'm not really doxing myself. I mean, yeah. Y'all know my name. You don't have kids, Pep. Nope. Well, I got little fur babies. Because I'm a millennial. That's how we talk, and that's how we do things. But my dad's like that. Finds peace in it somehow. That's just weird. Yeah, grocery store trips are overwhelming. I can't stand it. But all right, guys. I appreciate you all hanging out today. If you are just joining us, please consider hitting that like button on the stream and joining us at 4 p.m. for a live edition of High on Politics at Pep Talks TV on YouTube and Twitch. Also, continue to support this space. We have some great syndicated content coming up, so stick around for that. And I will hopefully be around for some primetime Pepaganda tomorrow. That is the plan. So I will catch you guys later. Peace.
Who the heck is Pep Talks?
I'm not gay, but I fantasize about Marco Rubio. Pep Talks. Pep Talks. Pep Talks. Let's eradicate the Kung Flu. I'm literally coming. Pep Talks. Pep Talks.
Who the heck is Pep Talk?
They want our women. They want our children.
Pep Talk.
Sometimes no means yes. Grab them by the Pep Talk. Grab them by the Marco Rubio. Obama is a racist.
Pep Talk.
I'm literally coming. I'm literally coming.
Pep Talks.
We found weapons of mass destruction. My fellow Americans, it has been confirmed today from Pep Talks that we are indeed all high on politics.